Hey guys, I'm Rob Tatro. Today we're talking about illiquid assets and investments. What you need to know, how you need to build a portfolio around that, and what you need to be aware of when it comes to these illiquid investments. I'm Rob Tatro from robtatro.com, head of the Tatro Wealth Advisor Group here at Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management. If you want to know more about this specifically, or you just want to have a conversation about your assets, the liquidity around them, please go to www.speaktorob.com. I'd love to set up a no-obligation consultation with you to chat about this or anything else. So the concept of liquidity is one that very few people understand and appreciate. If I have a $10 bill, that is as liquid as it possibly gets. It is cash, it is tender, it is usable as cash. I can purchase stuff with it. It's fully liquid. If I have a gift card, a gift certificate, well, it's rather liquid, but we're getting a little less down on the liquidity scale. Now, if I own shares of publicly traded companies, those are fairly liquid. I can go, I have an investment account, I can sell those shares, I could sell those shares, I get cash for them, and now I have cash in my account. Those are fairly liquid when it comes to investments. Now, a lot of these assets that are not as liquid as stocks, right? You could have a bond, a preferred share, a debenture, a junior stock, a penny stock. Now those generally have less liquidity. And what ends up happening is, as a result of the fact that they have less liquidity, you're actually not able to convert them to cash, or if you can, you're able to, you must take a hit, you must take a loss on the fact that when you're converting it. So generally these illiquid assets typically mean that there's less shares that are traded, or there's less volume traded on that day or in that week. There's less buyers of these shares generally. So it leads to an abnormally large bid-ask spread. So the bid-ask spread, if I want to bid 90 cents for this bond and the ask is $1, that's a relatively large bid-ask spread. Now let's talk about some of these illiquid assets that you have. Is your house, how liquid is your house? Could you convert it to cash tomorrow morning? Maybe. Maybe if it's a condo in the right price area, maybe you could sell it real quick and you could convert it to cash, but generally that would be an illiquid asset. How about antiques? You got an antique that grandma left you that's worth a lot of money. You had it appraised. It's worth a lot of money. How liquid is it actually, right? Debt instruments, right? So you get a bond from a smaller company, maybe a small cap company, and there's a huge bid-ask spread, and there's actually sometimes no bid. These penny stocks, there's been many, many times. Things are great on these penny stocks when they're making new highs. People are buying. But the dreaded no bid situation is just not fun. It's really not pleasant. No bid meaning there's not one person who actually wants to buy your shares. Therefore, you cannot convert. Not even with a penalty. You actually just cannot convert to cash. So that is the definition of an illiquid asset. So when you're investing in your portfolio, you definitely need to know your liquidity. How much cash could I potentially need in the next 6 months, next year, next 2 years, next week? And then how much of my portfolio can be converted to cash if I needed it tomorrow? And that's one thing that I see a lot of people who don't understand and don't appreciate this, is you actually need to understand and work with someone to build your portfolio that meets your liquidity needs. People often talk asset allocation. They'll say, oh, my asset allocation is perfect. I talked to my manager and we're on the same page, but they've never done a liquidity analysis. A lot of these newer products now that are being sold, some of the private debt, some of the private equity, sometimes they have liquidity provisions whereby you can't liquidate for a year or 2 or 3 or 5. So you actually cannot liquidate, or if you can, it's with a penalty. It might be 3 or 5% penalty or something like that if you want to liquidate in the first year. So be very careful of those. If you are owning illiquid assets, you should be getting what's called a liquidity premium. If I can get 8% on a private debt and I could sell it and convert my cash to tomorrow, that's worth way more than if I need to wait a year or 2 or 3 to collect my cash. If you're not having the liquidity in your investments that you would have with publicly traded securities, you need to be getting more in terms of return for that. So the people who speculate and invest in penny stocks, they might go no bid. And when the stocks go no bid, that's not fun, but they're getting a premium for that because they're hoping that at some point their penny stock will go from 10 cents to $1. Now that's not for everyone, and believe me, the liquidity, you just don't want to be caught on the wrong side of a liquidity squeeze. Like if you actually have to sell your assets at an inopportune time, that is not pleasant. You don't want to be selling your assets when everything is kind of bottomed out, because that's when you actually end up suffering because of your liquidity. So these are all really important concepts, folks. You definitely should have someone do a liquidity analysis of your personal net worth, of your personal wealth. If you want us to do that, we'd be happy to do it. Go to www.speaktorob.com. We'd love to book a time to take a look at that. Take a look at your portfolio. Make sure that your needs are currently being met. I'm Rob Tatro, head of the Tatro Wealth Advisory Group here at Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management. Had a lot of fun today chatting with you about liquidity. If you like what you see here, please give us a like, give us a follow. We'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know your comments as well. How do you feel about liquidity? So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.